everyone and welcome back to the channel. It has been about a week since Readwise launched its official Logseq plugin. As you might have seen in one of my previous videos, I was getting my Readwise highlights through Obsidian by using the official Readwise plugin. So this has been a breath of fresh air for me as it decreases the friction in my workflow quite a bit. Before we start, I would really appreciate your support. This can be by subscribing and liking or buying me a coffee. If you are a Brave browser user, you can also tip me with the BAT token. So with that out of the way, let's start. So I am assuming that most of you know what Readwise is and what it does. For those who aren't familiar with Readwise, maybe just a quick short intro. Readwise is a great capture and learning tool. You can capture tweets and tweet threads, book highlights. This can be from Kindle or from Kobo, highlights from web pages, and maybe the most important one for me is the podcast highlights. I currently use Snipped as my main podcast app, and Snipped also connects to Readwise. If you are curious about Snipped and how to use it with Readwise, please see the video that I had prepared before, which you can connect just above. Basically, Readwise is a critical part of my PKM capture system. So coming back to Readwise, in this video I will be showing you how to set up the plugin and 4 tips on how to use the Logseq plugin, Readwise Logseq plugin effectively for your note-taking process. So let's start. Let's start with setting up the plugin. It's quite straightforward. So I have uninstalled it so that we can all see together how to do it. So I will just go to the plugins page, go to the marketplace, search for Readwise, install. Okay, so now it's installed. Now what I have to do, as you can see, the Readwise has come up on the top. So you see it's not connected to my account as yet. I have previously logged in before the video. If you are not logged in, you can just log in previously, or it will ask you to log in once you press connect. So I will press connect to connect to my Readwise account, and since I was already logged in, it has opened up the browser with the Logseq export page, which we will talk about in detail. So now this is how we set up the plugin. As you can see, there are a couple of options here. So every time if this is highlighted, which it is, it will sync automatically when Logseq is opened up each time. And there is an option to resync deleted pages. So if you deleted something by mistake and you highlight this, the next time you will sync, it will bring it back. So the reset is if you want to start from scratch. It's very dangerous, obviously, because it will delete everything that you imported from Readwise. All your highlights will still be in Readwise, but they will be deleted from your Logseq database. So now I only chose, as you can see below in the select items to be exported, 3 items for today's video, so that everything would go smoother and faster. And actually this is my first tip. So the first tip is, when you are setting up, before you should start, you should configure the setup in the Logseq export page with a few highlights, not more, until you get, because you might want to have a trial and error to see exactly if it fits your needs or not. Sometimes it doesn't show up as you might expect. So it's a good idea just to select a few and then do all the modifications. So that's tip 1. Now tip number 2. So now once you get all your highlights, you're going to probably want to use queries on them so that you can enable a workflow. And this can be done by queries, as you know. But I wanted to improve the query experience with Readwise because the normal classic setup, which you can see here above in the configuration page under the page metadata, so this is the default. It puts mainly the information in different blocks or lines. So let's see how that looks, and this makes querying difficult. So I have changed this, and I will show you what my format is, but this is the default. So let's sync with the default to see. So I will go and I will say initiate sync. So it should be syncing just those three items that I had selected with that format that you saw. Okay, so actually I had 5. There were some more below. So now it's synced. I will just wait. Okay, it's now starting to show up. Yes. So let me show you from one of the podcasts that I had listened to earlier this week. This one, the Marshall Goldsmith one. So you see now it brings author, full title and category and URL in one block, but sometimes it might bring in different blocks, in different lines as well. So what I did is I make sure that in the new setup that this continues with the new data, so the query works properly. Let me show you what I mean. So I will just copy paste the setup that I configured. Let me go back to the here, and as you can see there are certain variables and filters that can be used to customize exactly what you are looking for. So let me show you what I did to enable the queries and to get more information out of Logseq. So I will just copy paste it, the new format, and let me explain what's different. So the author is the same, the full title is the same. I added a status as to process. So what this does is when I sync, the status to process comes with all the highlights. This means that I will want to, when I query to process, I will be able to see which highlights I need to work on. I have added the category. I have also added the highlight date. Why? Because Readwise by default adds the date of the sync, and I don't want to see the date of the sync. I want to see date of the sync is also maybe useful, but the highlighted date is much more useful for me, because then I can see what I have been working on and what I have listened to or kept track of on each relevant day. I have also added the highlight time. It's not particularly something that I use, but for the video I added so that if you want to use it, you can. And I also added the source. The source is like when like I explained, I'm using snipped. So snipped will show up here when we will do it, when we will do the sync. And then there are some document tags which I will also talk about. So now this is automatically saved. You don't have to press anything to save this. Once you put this in, Readwise already accept this as it is. So coming back to, so now with this new customization, I will sync again and then see how the queries work. Now, so in order to do that, I will go and I will reset. So it will delete all the Readwise highlights that I just took. Since there's only 5, it won't take long. So I will just reset. So you see now it's starting to erase the delete. As you can see here, it says deleting. And once you reset, it will also disconnect. Since I am using OneDrive is asking me, telling me that a lot of my files are being deleted. So I'll just wait a few seconds here. Logseq is restarting again. Let me initiate the sync and see the difference. The Marshall Goldsmith one. It's taking a bit of time, so let me just wait a few more seconds. Okay. Yeah. You see now I have my status, I have the highlight date, and I have the highlight time as well, and the source. You see the source is snipped. This is the, and also it's getting the URL. So if you want to go from this URL to this snipped podcast, you can also check it online as well. But that's a different topic altogether. So now, since I have this, what I can do is, let me show you how the queries work. It's going to be a simple query. I just wanted to show two types. So you can see query according to the property, which is the category podcasts. And as you can see, you can play around with all the things that we had in that one block. So you can have the category. So let me just play around with it. So I want the author, I don't want the highlight time, I want the highlight date, I want the status, and I just need the full title and not the title itself. So you see there's only one podcast that came in, and that's how I can now see it. So imagine if you had more than that. Now what is the difference between this query and this query? Well, this brings the tag podcasts, and so it brings the same one, but also it brings other blocks where I use the tag. So this will bring the tag, but this will bring from the page property, from the category type, podcasts. So as you can see, it's very easy to use when you have it all in one block. Even if you are using it as a simple query, let's say you want to see the to process, right? So when you have the to process as a simple query, let me show you. You see, it's just query and the tag to process. Now, since I had it all in the one block, that's why it was easier to use it. You see now, to process there are 9. Why is there 9? Because I also use the tag to process not just from Readwise but also from other sources as well. So let's, again, we can play around. So, you know, similar to the other one, keep the full title. I don't want the URL. I don't want the highlight time. Yeah, so just I'll leave it at that. So you see now I have a table where I can see all the two processes, and then I can start to go and start to work on them. Okay, so let's go back. So let's continue with the next tip. Now the next tip is the details of the formatting here. So how was I able to put it in one block? Well, you see you have these slashes. These slashes ensure that you keep them all under one block. Now, talking about the variables and filters, so you can use, for example, the last highlighted date. So this is a variable with a date filter, which I used M, D, and Y, so that the month, date, and Y format. Why? Because this is the same date format that I have been using in the Logseq date. And I also wanted to add the time. So as you can see, I use the same date, but with the H and I. So H is for hour and I is for the minutes. So you can play around with these. You can find the link, I will put it in the description below, to look at the different type of variables you can use and the filters you can use. Some of them are explained here. But yeah, so I think this is quite useful to play around with in terms of how you want to manage your data. So going back to Logseq and continuing with the different tip, the last tip. Now, when you are capturing with Readwise, actually you can add some document tags. So what do I mean by this? So let's say you are going to save a Twitter thread. Okay, so I will just show you. Now, this person made a thread about 10 Google Chrome extension, right? And so I will, when I send this as a direct message to Readwise, and I put a T, this means that I want to save it as a thread, and then I want to put the tags productivity and focus. So when I say dot productivity and dot focus, these will come through into Readwise as document tags. So let me show you how they come up in Logseq, in Readwise, sorry. So let's find, yeah, so this is the one. So you see, now I have the focus and the productivity tags. So how do these come into Logseq? Well, this is exactly, sorry. So when you look at the customization, you see document tags, and once this is already default made by Readwise, so you don't have to touch anything, but these will bring the tags into Logseq. So let's see how they look for that particular one, right? So let's go to queries and then have a look at the, you see in the process I have found it here. So when I go to that one, you see the tags, they are here already, focus and productivity. So why is this important? Well, this is important because normally what you are getting as tags from Readwise is already by default set here, but with this one you can add tags during your capture. So you can add these dot tags when you are reading or when you are listening to podcasts and everything. So you can make some actionable tags like inbox or to-do tags, which you can add to your workflow. So I think that's quite useful. And I think that sums up the 4 tips for today. If you are not a current Readwise user, you can get an extra month of trial. Normally it's 30 days, but if you use this link that I have on the screen, which will be in the description below as well, you will get an extra month. And full disclosure, if you do continue to subscribe, I will get a small percentage out of it that will be of no cost to you. So this is an affiliate link, but it does provide you an extra month of trial as well. Yes, so thank you for listening. I think that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.